I believe that reflection, to me, they save the best for last in the learner profile for a reason. But I think a lot of the kids are naturally quite verbal, and I think in this program we try and change that verbal to the written, and then we also try and change them from thinking in the box to out of the box. That's what gives that well-rounded kind of education that everybody really looks for. And I think by the time they finish their journey, they can look back, and that's when the real reflection occurs. I wanted them to see that it was part of the actual process, that reflection isn't something separate and different, but that it is actually part of the flow. And I was hoping that eventually they would, find that along their own journey. So I always have the kids look at what they've done because they're so used to being told what to do. They don't think on their own, and I think this helps them to build up that repertoire. A lot of the activities I do, especially in mathematics, a lot of students don't always have that chance to shine. That's not quite where they're at yet in their journey. And then in their reflection, sometimes it surprises me how they are very intuitive, and I think that's great when they have that intuition that says, hey, I can do this, I just need to work more in this area. And for that, I think we both learned something out of it. I actually do a reflection for myself at the end of the year, a report card, so to speak, where I ask them that I do ask for reflections on certain activities and labs and projects, and I ask them about that. And I ask for information. How can this be better? How can this be more helpful to you, where you feel it's a part of something that you're doing and that you want to do it so that it is useful? After 37 years, if I was doing the same thing, I wouldn't be here. It wouldn't make sense. I have to learn from them every year, and I learn that your audience is everything. If you're teaching something to an audience and you're using something you thought was going to be great, but yet they didn't receive it that way, then really it didn't serve its purpose. So it isn't about the objectives. Those two have to be kind of in a flow.
it doesn't take anything for you to do a reflection with your kids. There's nothing to it. It's just saying, at the end of class, whether they do it, at the beginning I start giving them time in class, but a lot of kids don't remember to bring their notebooks, so they do it on their own. But it's a very powerful tool for teaching. They, first of all, reinforces everything that you went over in the lesson for the day, which they need to do anyway, and sometimes they don't. And with anything, practice makes perfect. The more that you do something, the better that you're going to get.
At first I didn't like them, but once you get into like I would say that I would make a paragraph reflection and end up writing a page reflection, because you find out you learned a lot more than what you really thought you did.
It's not just the physical changes, it's the emotional changes as well. How has yoga and the things that we're doing in yoga, the mindfulness, how has it changed you overall? Not just the physical things, but are you calmer in other classes? Are you maybe using the breathing techniques somewhere else? Have you noticed other areas in your life where yoga has made a change?
When I was doing my reflection, I thought back to my first day of yoga, and we were doing she taught us some relaxation, and she told us to forget about all the exams and tests we had to worry about that were in the back of my head. And I didn't really notice that literally at all times of the day I'm thinking about work, classes I have to do. And when she told us to clear our heads, I felt like it was something really different than I usually do. The tenses and releases from relaxation yoga, I started doing that before and after exercises and felt better.
And I'd say about 90% of them come back and really say that they've seen other changes. Maybe they had issues with body image, and because this is not a competitive type class, they no longer have those type of issues. Maybe if they had issues with depression or something like that, they found that the yoga really helped them. I get some very powerful papers where it's not just the physical aspect of the yoga, but the emotional and other things incorporated in their life that are affected. A student who graduated a few years ago found me on Facebook, and it is a reflection of sorts, and she wrote, she was taking yoga, she was doing a semester abroad in Costa Rica, and she said, the teacher reminded me of you, and I wanted to say thank you, because she's like, I've always been kind of heavy, and PE was always very competitive for me, and I came to yoga, and it was the first time I was only competing about myself. And so, for me, you don't realize the scope of what you're doing. It's PE, we're doing physical yoga, and yes, it's IBPE, so there's much more to it than a regular PE class, but you don't realize how much you affect them just by the little things that you do every day, and it's pretty awesome.
Don't just reflect on one thing you've done. Go back into first day since the beginning of yoga, since the beginning of your yoga class, and try and look back at every day. She even makes us, she makes us, but we do it anyway, process journals, where we have to log every day what we've done in yoga, and you look back on that, see oh yeah, I did a headstand that day. I really think I would be able to do that.
That is the reflection over the whole semester is one of my favorite papers to read, because it really shows me if they've been paying attention and again, what they've accomplished physically, mentally, emotionally over the course of a semester. And there's often so many surprises when you're reading those papers. The more that you do something, the better that you're going to get. So every day that they start doing reflections, they're going to get more and more comfortable with it, and they have that opportunity to look back again on what they've learned in your class, and it just reinforces everything that they're learning. So I would recommend it for every class. I think it's a wonderful tool.
When I first started teaching IB, I knew that reflection was part of the curriculum. But coming at it from a non-IB class, I kept thinking to myself, why? What good does that do? And I was very pleasantly surprised for two reasons. Number one, the kids actually didn't mind doing it. They did not see it as busy work. The second thing was it helped. And the reason it helped was because the kids were actually reflecting more critically and probably more creatively about themselves than I ever would have. They actually took it far more seriously than I expected that they would. I think the kids honestly do better after having looked at their work, reflected on their work, looked at exemplars of really good work and reflected on that, and then compared the two. Now they know what it is that they want to do, what it is that they are doing, and they put the pieces together. But even more than that, writing the reflection, I think, helps them own it. And when they own it, they're willing to do better. When I see what the kids say they're doing well and what the kids say they need help with, and I read the reflections, it gives me a better idea of how to change the lessons so that they're getting what they need. But it's them telling me instead of me asking them. There's a difference. If they're volunteering the information, I know they mean it. If I just say, how many people blah, 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 and they raise their hands, that's not the kind of reflection or feedback that really helps me. For my colleagues in IB, I would encourage them to let the kids reflect. Don't feel like it's a waste of time, and don't feel like the kids won't take it seriously. I think I was pleasantly surprised, and I think my colleagues would be pleasantly surprised too, that it works and it helps and it makes a difference.
Hi, my name is Talia. Hi, my name is Christelle. And the other day we went to a construction site hosted by Eagle's Nest, which is a group of students and construction workers who work on building a house at a community near our school.
So Mr. Acosta and Soxy wanted us to go out there and work on the site because they know that our IBCP project is building a park in Del Rey. So they thought it would be a perfect learning opportunity for us to go really see like how things are built, what the process is, and all this other stuff.
And while we were there, we realized it was really interesting because in drafting class, whenever we build something, we'll put like a line or
Yeah.
a circle here, but we never really see how everything like comes together. I mean, there's the option on drafting to put on like the conceptual view,
Yeah,
which is
like
kinda
3D. Yeah.
but not until you actually see how it's built, like, do you understand like what the work you're doing for drafting is for.
So by like going to the construction site, we really got to see like, wow, like all our computer work in AutoCAD actually pays off, and it was pretty cool to see that all the lines, all the shapes that we make are actually being put into a house, are being used into other things.
So at the construction site, specifically this day, the walls were already built and they were hollow. So
Yeah.
we had a cement truck come in and
We filled it with
Yeah.
concrete.
we filled the hollow walls with concrete, and we actually took the machine where the cement is transferred into and pumped
Yeah,
the
it was
concrete
this
to the
huge
walls.
tube that we
Yeah.
were like gonna hold up, and that was pretty hard because like at first like the guys that were doing it, they made it look really easy, and Christelle and I are like, yeah, we
But
got
the minute
this.
we had it,
Yeah, we
and
were
it was
like-
transferred to us, we realized how heavy it was and how hard it actually was. We have to actually fill it up. Make
Yeah,
sure
there was a
no
lot
hollow
of
bubbles.
because the walls like went down really far, and like the cement would create an air bubble, and once this air bubble was created, we would move on, and then the air bubble would pop, and we'd be like, oh, we have to go back and continue filling it up.
Yeah, so it was an interesting learning experience, as well as we started adding the steel bars, and then we started smoothing out the surface.
Which helps with the roof. So one good thing about Eagle's Nest is the area it's built in. The property value for that neighborhood is usually around $90,000, but then the neighborhoods around that usually sell for like $100,000 or something. So by building this new house, will have new appliances and all this stuff, it kind of increases the property value, which can be looked at as good or bad depending on what position you want to take.
Yeah, and it's good because if this new property is built and introduced to the community, then immediately like all the houses around it, like
Their
the
property,
value
yeah.
will increase, and also influence like a lot of people moving who want to purchase the property.
Yeah, and so like if someone's trying to sell their house in this community, since their property value went up, they'll be able to get more money for their house, which also brings in new and better people into this community.
Yeah, as well as since we're building the house, I know that a lot of times like when they rush and they build properties, a lot of the effort really isn't put into it, and they're kind of not that sturdy, and like later on a lot of renovations are made. So
Yeah.
since Eagle's Nest is
yeah.
putting like so much effort like and time with like the students and the construction workers, it's a lot better for like the house,
Yeah.
and later renovations will be made because it's a better property.
But the other side to this is, like, you know, in our society, there's many people who don't have a high-paying job, and they rely on neighborhoods like these, which have lower property value, to live in. And by increasing the property value, it makes it harder for people to find a house to live in. So that all has to be put into consideration. On one hand, yes, it's really good that we're increasing property value for everyone around it. But on the other hand, what are we doing to the people that can't afford it? So that's how, I mean, and that's in any construction you do. That's any time you build or, like, you know, so that all has to be put into consideration. And, I mean, it's a really cool house, like, where, you know, we're helping to contribute to the society.
So at the construction site, we have to take a lot of things into consideration, like the heavy, like duty materials we'll be working with, as well as the clothes that we had to wear. Like we had to wear closed-toed shoes.
Yeah, because if any of the
Yeah.
equipment fell on us, also we were climbing up, like, on this ladder thing to reach the roof, and so we had to be closed-toed shoes just in case we stubbed our toe. So, like, all of this gets thought out just to protect us and, like, you know, safety on the site.
We had to wear a hard hat and we had to wear sunglasses because when we were working with the vibrator, which helps take the bubbles out of the concrete, a lot of the cement, the wet cement, was like flying up into our faces.
Yeah,
So if we didn't have the eye protection, then something could have happened.
yeah.
The hard hat in case like if we fell or anything. So we had to come to the construction site prepared, and we also had to learn about like the safety essentials.
Yeah, it was a lot of planning, a lot of learning how to use the tools, which is all something that we did before we started actually working with the concrete, and like she said, the vibrator.
Yeah, we were also introduced to like a lot of tools on the site. Like we learned about like the steel bars, as I previously mentioned, and the truck and how everything was transferred.
It was a lot of hard work. I mean, the
Yeah.
whole day, like by the end of the day when we had to like do the whole cleanup process, we were exhausted, and like it's pretty cool to see because like what we did on the construction site is what is an actual profession. Like this is what people dedicate their whole life to, and like here we are sweating one day, exhausted, and
Yeah.
then thinking about people do this on a daily is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really interesting to have like the first-hand experience, especially with people who knew what they were doing. And something Acosta mentioned to us while we were on the site is that he had this experience when he was like 20-something years old, and like we're lucky to have like the experience of being on the construction site at like this young to like learn firsthand about the profession, and we're already kind of working with it. So
yeah,
it's like a growth from drafting and seeing everything from a different
and
view,
like the whole concrete and like putting the concrete into the wall is really cool, because for our IBCP project we're going to be like, what we learned is that in order to put the poles into the ground for our workout equipment, you have to dig out a hole in the dirt, and then you put concrete in there too, to then you put the pole. So it was pretty cool to see like how the concrete is transferred into there. And it's, yeah, so it all came together, like, you know, from AutoCAD to going on the construction site, we got to put all our skills into one day, and it was a pretty amazing day.
Yeah, it was really interesting experience, and we hope to go see more construction sites, and we will update you on any further.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.